The juice is loose. Yeah. So, this is the first Sunday of our Journey of the Heart program. This is our annual program where we talk about prosperity and invite people in the month ahead to pledge what they might give to the church in the year ahead so we can continue to do good things. So I'm going to ask you to just turn your listening up because I'm going to have to speak fast, okay? Now, whenever I say that, I also have to say not everything I say is that important, okay? So trust that you're going to hear the pieces that you really need to hear, and you can always buy the CD, all right? So Einstein said that everything is energy, right? And so this is our Journey of the Heart. My topic is something to begin with. Everything is energy. That includes money, okay? So buckle in for a few minutes here. That we are a metaphysical teaching. That means we are very interested in what exists beyond the physical. We're interested in the part that we don't see. So everything physical that we do see started with an invisible. It started with an idea. It started with an invisible cause. It started with a principle. So the seen comes from the unseen. So by the time we see some experience, some effect in our life out here, what I always say is that that has cooked in consciousness for a long time before it showed up in our life out here. Does that make sense? Are you with me so far? All right, so now something very important to begin with is to look within first. That we see in the scriptures these words, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven and everything else will be added unto you. So that everything else that gets added unto you when you seek first the kingdom includes money, it includes health, it includes loving relationships, it includes creative expression. It's really about anything that would add to your life and not detract from your spiritual journey is already coded into the system of which we are a part. Now, the kingdom within manifests in the visible world as love. Love is how the world and the people in it heal. Ernest Holmes said the kingdom of heaven is available to us to the degree that we become conscious of it. Isn't that wonderful? It's all at our disposal. How conscious are we willing to be that, oh yeah, I could be living in heaven right now and I don't have to die to get there. I could be in heaven right now. Is my thinking supporting me having an experience of heaven, or is my thinking taking me to hell? I know my thinking knows the way to hell very well. I do not need a GPS for that at all. I've done it so many times. But this is about training ourselves with a kind of thinking that supports greater life and greater love and greater expression and greater awareness of our oneness with God. And that's the thinking that takes us to heaven right here and now. So, nothing out here in the outer world is inherently bad. What's out here is only an effect of what goes on in here for each and every one of us and collectively for the world. But out here, how we use what's out here is completely up to each and every one of us. We can use it for good or we can use it for bad. We can use it for love, we can use it for not love. I think it's like the electricity in your home. The electricity, if you pay your bill, the electricity is just there. Now, you can do really good things with it. In a couple months from now, maybe, you might want to turn on an electric blanket for 30, 45 seconds one night. And you'll be so grateful that you have that electricity to take the chill off your Egyptian cotton sheets, right? That'll be just so nice, and now you have electricity. But you know what? If you put power strips and all kinds of extension cords onto that socket, you could actually overload that plug, and you might even have a house fire from it. Now, the problem is not electricity. Electricity didn't do that. It was your use, or actually your misuse of electricity that caused the problem. So in many ways, money is energy, and how we are and what we believe on the inside is what causes it to manifest the way it does on the outside for us. Does this make sense? So we individually determine how we use the energy of money. So do people use money for bad things? Yes, absolutely. Sure, but do people use money for good things? Yes, absolutely. So this is about the consciousness of the people. We'll bring it home. This is about my consciousness and your consciousness. It's not the fault of money. You can't blame money for what people do with it. What people do with it reflects where they are on the inside. Right? So I have seen for years people on the spiritual path who think that there is something unspiritual about money, almost as if not having money made them just a little bit better and a little more evolved than all those other people. And they'll say just a tiny bit smugly, well, I don't have money, but you know, I'm pursuing a spiritual life and a spiritual path. And it's like, oh, you're on a spiritual path? What am I on, a pogo stick, huh? You know? First of all, why do you think the two don't go together? That's something to really think about. Here, let me heal you right now. Jesus said more about money than he said about any other topic in the Bible. Jesus talks about money. Jesus had a great consciousness around money. This is all a myth when people go, oh, poor Jesus. Jesus was not poor. Jesus had the consciousness to demonstrate whatever he needed, wherever he needed it. His first public miracle was when his mother called him out at the wedding at Canaan and says, we don't have enough. What can you do about it? And he knew what to do. He was the person who had the consciousness and the faith to multiply the loaves and the fishes. He was the person. So don't give me poor Jesus and use that as your reason not to thrive. You know, when Jesus dies, it says in the gospel, when he's being crucified, it says that the soldiers drew lots for his garments. This means that they were gambling to see who would get his robe. If his robe was a rag, why would anybody want it? Think about that. He had the best robe. He had the seamless garment. The best robe that money could buy was what he was wearing. That's why they were gambling for it. If it was a rag, they would have all just ripped it into pieces and everybody could have brought home a sleeve or a pocket or something, right? So Jesus got the principle that God is abundance. Why do we think the two things don't go together? Jesus gave this teaching that I am in the world, but I am not of it. You know, there are lots of spiritually evolved people with money who do great things in the world. Some of them are here today. In fact, it is because of spiritually evolved people with money that a lot of really great stuff happens in the world today, if we tell the truth about it. You know, people always want to drag out poor Mother Teresa. You know, and say, oh, but what about Mother Teresa? She was poor. Yes, well, in her order, she took a vow of poverty, right? But, you know, Mother Teresa was also in Calcutta, right? But Mother Teresa's path was a path of poverty, but it was also a path of deep communion with the presence of God within. So when God gave her an idea like, Mother, why don't you build an orphanage in Washington, D.C., it was because other people had money that they could donate her land, and they could give her a building, and they could give her medical supplies and furniture and all the things that she would need to have an orphanage that functioned, you know, or whatever else she was doing, right? So her part was to pray and say, God, what can I do about all these children? And our part is to prosper so we can be big and abundant enough to actually give her a building. Can you imagine? You know, yes, absolutely. They're like, can you be spiritually evolved without money? You know, can we be spiritually evolved without money? Well, yes, of course, but why would you choose to be here? You know, why would you choose to be spiritually evolved without money? You know, in Financial Freedom, a class that I teach every year here, we say there may be other worlds without money, but this is not one of them. You know, having a sufficiency frees you to pursue spiritual study and do good works. Having a sufficiency allows you to put love into the world in greater ways. When you lack, you think about money all the time. You know, people always say, oh, people with money, all they do is think about money. No, they don't. They think about how to give their money away. It's the people who don't have any money who are thinking about money all the time. You know, it's very difficult. See, it's very difficult in our society if you struggle with money. It's difficult to think about other things or the bigger things you came here to do. I've been counseling for years. I've never had one person come to me when I say, what do you think you came here for? What did your soul come here for? Nobody has ever said, oh, to just struggle and get by. No, isn't that amazing? Nobody has ever said, to just eke out a living and barely pay my bills. Nobody has ever said that. Everybody came here for a greater purpose. So I have to also say, in all fairness, having an abundance of money, people could also stray from the spiritual path, sure. We know that happens also, but if we tell the truth, they probably were not really committed to it in the first place, okay? So I consider myself to be fairly well-traveled. I've been lots of places. I've been places where people live on very little money, $1 to $2 a day, and in some cases less. They were not inherently holy, or there was not like some great spiritual vibration in the midst of this destitution and poverty. That was not, they weren't holy because they were lacking and in survival mode. I've been to even more places where the economy has been really, really bad, and people are very, very fearful. I did not observe some special spiritual or holy vibration among them because they were in fear that their needs were not going to be met, that they couldn't pay their rent or feed their children. What needs to be healed? The first thing, our thoughts about money have to be healed. We have to think better in order to live better. So here's something that gets to be healed. People are often very judgmental of other people who have more than them, or other people who have what they want. Now, what people have is about their consciousness. What other people have is a reflection of their belief, their faith, their connection with a higher power, their belief in themselves, their thought of what they deeply, deeply deserve they should think they should have. Often, that's the belief, this being judgmental of people who have something greater than us. Being judgmental of that is what keeps our good away from us, right? Because they think, I could never create that myself, or I could never have that myself. So if I judge somebody who has it, then I won't feel so bad. That's never true. That's never true. You will actually even feel worse. See, because there's lots of company among the struggling. Had you noticed that? You can get lots of agreement for lack and limitation, for lots of agreement for not having what you want in life. But I've got to tell you, that's error thinking. It is not of God. God is a principle of abundance. Lack is never of God. Hear that. Lack is never of God. Money is not bad. It's just energy. It's neutral. So ideally, we would all... So that in a perfect world, we would all be giving of our best self to the world all the time. Right? Because that's what makes the world a better place. Imagine every person, every day, giving their gift to the world. Just spin with that for a minute. Now, don't get stuck on, well, how could that happen? And I just don't see how it's going to happen. Yeah, just imagine if every person were fully giving their gift to the world every day. Now, to do that, we need resources. We need money to facilitate that. So a way to look at this, the way I look at this is, it's all God's money. And I'm just a manager. I'm just a steward of it during my time here on earth, right? And so people will say, well, what do you mean it's God's money? I mean, it's my money. I earned it. Yes, but ultimately, big picture, chunk up with me here. Big picture is it's God's money. You don't take it with you, as hard as many people try. You do not take it with you. Proof, you never see a U-Haul following a hearse. Right? Yeah. So, God's abundance flows through you, through me, through us to do our gift, to do what we do that makes the world a better place, to support what makes the world a more loving place to be. There's so much incorrect thinking about money in our culture today. And this really is based in a belief that there is finite pie. Okay, this first food analogy of the message. Finite pie. People think there is only so much to go around. But God's resources are infinite. God's supply is infinite. Think about this. Not finite pie, infinite pie. Infinite pie, right? Isn't that amazing to think about? I I just quiver at the thought of it. Like, oh my God, infinite pie, infinite pie. God's resources are infinite. You know, you have and circulate money, and you participating that way does not take away from anybody else. And sometimes people think, well, you know, if I do, then other people won't have, or if I take more, then other people will lack. Excuse me. You know what? Actually, you prospering, you thriving, you having a big, abundant life, it actually puts more money in the hands of other people, right? They have jobs, they produce products, they make things, they sell things, they get to give their gift because it's all about circulating, right? It's all about circulating. So you prospering creates more for other people. Money circulating for everybody is healthy. Excuse me, I got to drink again here. I'm just so excited I'm going to burn myself out. You know, it's like blood flowing in your body. If your blood doesn't flow freely, you won't be very healthy. And so we have to circulate our money in a conscious way in order to be financially healthy. We have to understand God does not have a poverty consciousness. All right? God has an abundant consciousness. It's all God's. I manage it. I steward it. I try to do good in the world. I support what I believe in. Conscious people. Now listen, this is really important. Today, more than ever, conscious people need to have money. If we look at our life, at the world in which we live, conscious people need to have money. So what's a question conscious people ask? How can I best be of service in the world? Right? You know, and know that this is a way your being of service in the world is it's like that's a way that you put God's love and God's goodness into the world. For us as metaphysical spiritual seekers, we have to know the way the universe is wired. You know, none of our personal problems will be solved by something that's going to happen out here in the world. None of the world's problems will be solved by something that's going to be happening in the world. The seed of healing, the seed of every solution for all problems is within us right now. It's in the invisible realm. It's in the kingdom of heaven within us. It's contained in the love that exists within us. You know, the more we know and understand that we truly are spirit, not just this physical body, that we are here to duplicate the nature of God, to express the qualities and the attributes of God, and that includes abundance. The more we will rise in consciousness, and our physical experience will rise up to reflect the rising in consciousness that we do. You know, we always think that somebody else is going to do something, and that's going to be the thing that's going to solve the problems in our life. You know, the government will do something, and that'll make it all better. Or the economic forecasters will do something, and that will make it all better. Or the price of oil will make it all better. Or medical science will make it all better. Or our boss or our partner or our ex will do something, and it will make things better. You know, that is not seeking first the kingdom. If we sought the kingdom first, our connection with God, let's say the kingdom is an awareness of our oneness with God, we would not always feel so at effect in the world. Don't you get tired of feeling at effect of everything in the world around you? I just want to slap the TV. You know, because without that connection with God, it's going to be like I'm adrift in a sea without a lifeboat. You know, that I'm at the effect of the economy and the government and the industry and the job and external conditions. But because the principal power and presence of God is within us right now, we have everything we need within us now. You were created that way. From the beginning, the divine blueprint of your existence has it that everything you need actually exists within you. So lack of abundance on any level, if you don't have the right money or the right work or the right relationships or the right health or whatever, in any area is a reflection of what we deep down believe about ourselves and what we deep down believe about what we deserve. I know people often talk one talk, but deep down, this is why I'm saying deep down, they believe something else. In this sense, the problem is within. Now, that's actually good news. That's really good news, because if there really were a problem outside of us, then we would have no hope, no prayer, we couldn't do a thing about it. But if it's within me, that's something I can work with. That's something I can heal. That's something I can grow. I can change my consciousness about it by praying and meditating and studying the word of truth. You know, if you think God caused it being any problem in your life or on earth, I want you to be healed of that today. That is a crazy, nonsense, error, false belief, kind of pulled it right out of a place I'm not going to mention kind of thinking, okay? God does not cause any error. God does not cause any darkness. God is the principle, the power, the presence. God is the energy that heals all the error. God is the principle, power, and presence that heals all the darkness. God is more powerful than any perceived limitation we have had, that we have, or will ever have. So start to see yourself as an abundant consciousness. Tell yourself 1,000 times a day if you have to, I always have enough. I always have more than enough. You've got to start to look at yourself that way so that the universe will start to see you that way. Start living from a place of knowing I always have something to give. In every situation, to every person I encounter, I always have something to give. I always have enough to give. See, because the goodness we feel in life comes from the goodness that we give out. Give from your heart, and it will fill the world. Let's pray. So we come together in thought and consciousness now, just remembering that we are one with God, God that's everywhere, God that's all there is, God that is a principle of abundance itself is right here where we are, seeking a greater and fuller expression of itself by means of us, and we say yes to that. We allow ourselves to remember that we are all connected in the mind of God. We are all connected with each other, and so therefore there is an extraordinary agreement for us to have an upshifting of consciousness this day as we say yes to the good of God. I claim for each and every one of us that if we have some limited, not enough notion that does not serve us, that there's something inherently spiritual in struggle or lack, we let that go. We just surrender it. If we have a limited belief about what we deserve, we let that go. We surrender it. And we know that right where we are, the kingdom of heaven is, and it's ours to become aware of it. And so I know for each and every one of us that our life is intended to be the abundant expression of an abundant God. I know that this is the truth. And so we include in our prayer today family members and friends and loved ones, whether they're with us or not. We know God is right where they are, that they are surrounded and filled and uplifted and healed. We let our prayer be a blessing in the world, so those things that look fearful to us or lacking, we claim the perfect presence of God right there in the midst of that situation. The peace of God, the love of God, the wisdom of God, the healing of God is happening right there. We bless our church. We bless all churches everywhere. We bless synagogues and temples and mosques and ashrams, all paths to God. We bless them all. Because on the unseen side of life, we are all connected. We are all one. And so with an open, gracious, full heart, I just give thanks that this is the truth, that we are all healed. We are free. And I release this word, and so it is. Together we all say, Amen.